Okay, well, we're here again for better or for worse. We're here again. It's somewhat complicated, right? This being here, somewhat complicated. And what we do with this practice is we just acknowledge what is. There's a there's a little mantra that you may have heard, two Sanskrit syllables, sat, S-A-T, nam, N-A-M, sat, nam. And sat is, and English evolved from Sanskrit, so you may notice some familiarity with some of the sounds. Um, Sat, essentially that, um, which also might include this, us, all that, sat, all that is essentially. So being here, nam, named, sat nam. So naming it, that which is, sat nam, sort of acknowledging it, us, naming it. Oh, complication, complicated feelings. Warm tea, cold fingers, crazy cats. This power of our attention and our awareness, it brings into being, it acknowledges the being that we're doing. So these mindfulness practices that we start with, and remember, we start always with the spark or the intention or the awareness of the opportunity to practice. So sometimes it's just because ding, the calendar tells you it's 10 minutes till 8, time to log in, it's Monday morning. And what a gift those moments of consciousness can be to your future self when you just, yep, Monday's at 8, I'm just gonna have it on my calendar, I'll just log in and come as you are, right? One of my colleagues teaches a series of classes that she calls Come As You Are. And truly, we spend a lot of time. Oh, and actually, this has been an interesting thing with yoga classes. I haven't been teaching public yoga classes much in the last few years, but when I still was, I started to notice this phenomena where people would come and they'd be really nervous, and they'd come early and they'd introduce themselves to me before class, or else they'd hide in the back. They'd be really quiet, and they'd try to kind of make themselves really small. And either way, I would notice them, and I'd introduce myself and welcome, and, you know, anything I can help with, or there's where the bathroom is, just kind of orient people. And people would tell me, this is my first yoga class. I don't know what I'm doing. And I said, okay, well, you can even just sit and watch this whole class if you want, and, just kind of get a feel for it. And then, so this is the phenomena part. So then I would, teach the class, and I would see people do this like beautifully mature practice. And afterwards I would say, so you said it was your first yoga class ever, but that's not what your body told me. Your body told me that it knew what it was doing or had done this before. Or were you a yogi in a former life? Well, I've been doing videos online at home for a decade or something like that. Like, this is my first yoga class, like where I'm letting anybody see me do yoga. But I've been doing yoga in the privacy of my own home where nobody can see me for a long time. And this sort of process of acknowledging what or who we are, what spark of interest or curiosity we have, and then revealing it, practicing it and then revealing it to ourselves. And then maybe, oh my God, someday telling somebody else. I log in at 8 o'clock on Monday mornings and I do a meditation. Like, I'm not a meditator, I'm not good at it. We have to be sort of self-deprecating to get by in our culture, right? But I don't know, maybe you've tiptoed your way towards acknowledging that you practice mindfulness. So But anywhere along that process, again, we start just with the spark of like, could I be mindful? Like, could I find inner peace and carry it with me and have enough of it to steady myself and even to offer to other people an inner peace? Could I have delight in the midst of the chaotic or complicated human experience? So, I mean, some people seem like they have some access to this. How do you do it? So we do it like this. We have a spark of curiosity, get ourselves then, as you have this morning, to a place where we might have some support because we reflect what we see in the world. So you want to be a, mindful and peaceful and inquisitive and enjoyable presence, then be with mindful and inquisitive and peaceful beings. And then recognize, Sat Nam, recognize that you are embodied. So the first foundation of mindfulness of the body, breathing. And you might just start to amplify your breath. We have the sound of the breath that you might enhance a bit by amplifying. Might notice your nose is clogged when you do that, and you might want to clear some of the pathways in your nostrils. You can also help your sinuses drain naturally by just gently tilting your head back so your brain rolls into the base of your skull, and then lifting your nose a bit so the sinuses, instead of collecting any liquid that's in them forward in your face, instead the sinuses allow anything that's accumulated to slowly draw down and into the thoracic duct, where it will be transformed and moved through and away from the body. Good. You might also consider if your heart can lift and tilt upward, like your head, nose has lifted and tilted upward. And you might find some of the muscles of respiration across the chest, the throat, the jaw start to awaken. Good. Also the side body. So you might take a stretch over to one side and over to the other. You can use the arm to help extend, but mainly this is just to kind of open up the armpit, open up the side of the body, and then of course the back of the body. And that might be after we do a little bit more kind of wiggling and moving here. That might be where I ask you to focus on your awareness and breathing. So you could be sitting. If you feel well supported in a seated posture, you could sit with some support behind you, if that will help you to stay relatively upright. You could be lying down on the floor with your knees bent and your hands on your belly, or you could be standing with your feet wide, both your individual feet wide, your toes spread, but also with enough distance between your feet that you feel really steady. And you could even sway or rock a little bit. I'm sitting on a yoga ball, so I can, roll a little bit to side while I'm sitting. Okay, and then if you haven't already, bring your nose back just below the horizon. Let your heart shine straight ahead. And we'll bring attention to the back of the body, the back of the heart first. So instead of just letting the heart shine forward, appreciate its three-dimensionality and see if you can open some of the doors of the heart behind you. Maybe your eyes gently close, although you're welcome to keep them open. If you do keep them open, you might just soften around your gaze and direct it downward. So we start to encourage more of our awareness to come from what's around us to what's within. Again, here, maybe the back of the body is touching something like the floor or a support behind you. And if if so, you might see if as you breathe, you can increase that contact. So not only is the back of the heart open, but we'll send the breath into the back of the lungs. As they expand, they'll press against the back of the rib cage. The ribs spread apart a bit to make more space so the lungs can expand. You might even find as you exhale that you also find a little bit more contact in the back of the body. The exhalation oftentimes will just gently flatten the curve of the lower back. There's a little rocking that you might notice in your pelvis if your breath is deep into your abdomen. This is the very foundation of the very familiar cat and cow movement that we often do on our yoga mat. So you can make that as big or as small as feels good. Helps bring you and your awareness into your body, recognized here with your attention. Let's practice a few cycles of balanced breathing so that inhalation and exhalation both have the opportunity to bring us, take from us the energy that we need and that we don't need. So draw it in. Pause for a moment. Feel that fullness, especially in the back of the rib cage. And then let it out. Maybe find that little gentle curl, hugging the front wall of the spine. Inhale again, open up. Exhale. And if you're finding that one side of the breath is naturally quite a bit more powerful, longer, bigger than the other, see if you can restrain it a little. Just hold it back, and counting the length of each side is a helpful way to a little more objectively find balance. So we'll do another couple of cycles like that, just on your own count. Revealing now that equanimity, the inherent balance that we carry involuntarily, even the breath is balanced. Here in our opening practice for the day and for the week and the whole new month we have here for practice, you might also acknowledge or name what motivates you, what you're curious about. In this practice, we really honor not just our physical body and presence and the life force or the breath, but the those sparks of curiosity or intention or motivation. So allow your heart, your mind, your body in this moment to be seen, to be felt by you, maybe to articulate a word or phrase of intention or motivation that might be useful for you as you continue to weave mindfulness into your day, week, your month. This is a listening practice. So if you notice yourself thinking much, trying to come up with a good intention, please start back at the beginning by noticing your breathing, and listening for your breath, and paying attention to whatever else is here. Okay, just like this, we might move through the day, noticing kitties. You happen to have one pawing at your feet like I do. We're going to we're doing our weekend retreat next weekend in Seward, and we're going to be working a bit with the Brahma Viharas, the abodes, the best abodes for the heart, the places that we can return for refuge when we do find that things get complicated in our experience. One of those is equanimity. So the equanimity or the balance of the breath is the place that we can both begin and then finish by returning to. So let's take one more, again, full cycle of a relatively balanced breath, noticing that involuntary drive to exchange what's coming in, what's going out. Satnam. Okay, on behalf of all beings, acknowledged and named, seen, and honored by you through your practice. Thank you for your practice. Namaste.